Hi there, guys, and welcome to another episode of Wealth Waves. I'm joined with Charlie Chalarambas, CMTrading Partners, head of IBs. How are you doing today, Charlie?
I'm very good, Sergio. How are you today?
Awesome stuff, man. I'm very good. It's end of the year. I can taste the holiday
Can you?
season. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's been a year.
Yes,
So
interesting year. It's an
very,
interesting
very
year, isn't it?
that is putting it mildly. So yeah, I feel like I'm almost at the finish line, and yeah, gonna look forward to some much needed leave.
I don't know if this means anything, but our
Yeah.
offices are close to Limassol Harbour,
Oh wow.
and no lie, there is what probably looks like an American aircraft carrier
Oh my word.
docked in our this morning.
Jeez. You must be
So,
careful, eh? Never mind the what the implications are. They have a habit of draining everything. Your restaurants,
oh yeah, I
hotels,
saw it on
everything.
Saturday. I saw it on Saturday.
Yeah.
There were lots of seamen
Yeah.
all around Limassol getting absolutely hammered and drunk. But
Oh
hey,
yeah.
that's another conversation. That's another conversation.
So I thought today, we'll continue our trend on how to start a business and
Yeah.
the pitfalls and disadvantages and advantages of all of those. With another article from Forbes, this time
Okay.
entitled "The Top 10 Reasons Why Businesses Fail."
Okay.
So, just so we don't have to, go on for hours and hours, because I'm sure,
It's
we
a
can
big
chat about it.
conversation.
I think
Yeah.
we'll limit it to the first five, and then maybe we'll do a part two.
You know what would be an
So,
interesting question before we
yeah,
go into it
yeah,
is the person who's written the article. Okay.
yeah.
How many businesses have they built?
Yeah, it would be actually kind of cool to hear from people who have, failed and failed upwards.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
I know a friend of mine who straight out of college has started business. He started a business and then, just unfortunately it didn't work out, but it didn't stop him.
Hmm.
And four iterations of the same business later, he's finally, struck proverbial gold. So yeah,
Yeah.
failing is a part of not just business but life. It happens, and you got to learn from it.
I think I would like to change failing to testing because
Yeah,
that's what you're
I
really
think
doing.
I think a lot of people might get put off. It's like we spoke about last time. They hear the
Yeah.
words starting business equals failure. I can't afford to fail, so why bother, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot that holds a lot of people back. So let's start off with Forbes number one, and that
Okay.
is one of the first reasons why businesses fail is complacency. Arrogance is a company killer. As soon as companies or leaders, as a matter of fact, start getting complacent, the company starts falling behind. Cracks start showing,
Mm.
and I think a lot of companies out there are guilty of this.
Yeah. Is that how they define it? So it's complacency before you start the business or complacency once you've reached a certain level?
They've defined it as complacency once you've started your company. Your business model kicks in, the money starts
Yeah.
coming in, and you just kind of sit back on your laurels.
Understood.
So, yeah, not a good state to be in.
Um, that's interesting. I think my view on that is always that strong leadership takes you to a different place as opposed to management. The founder, leader, their job, I wouldn't say his job, their job is to, in essence, sell the vision down to the people that work for that company. Because if they're clear about where they're going, okay, they stay motivated. Okay, when they're not clear about where they're going is where you get complacency, because it's not, is it always complacency in the leader? Is it
Yeah,
complacency in terms of staff members? They're not motivated.
yeah,
Because if you don't have the correct environment, okay, that rewards continuous and never-ending improvement, and that improvement happens. Look, progress motivates. If there's a constant drive and reminding of precisely where that organization is going and what it stands for. Why do you exist? That's an important question to ask any leader of any organization.
Yeah.
Why do you exist? And if they can answer that question, okay, and they've got that clarity in terms of what they want and where they're going, I think it's very difficult to be complacent. I think complacent happens when that message isn't clear.
I think, what also tends to happen is you work on a business model of, I don't know, we need to sell bananas, right? We need to sell 100 bananas to make profit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, I guess, if you hit those targets for the first 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But too often is the case of, let's just sit back. We've already got our 100 banana target, so why push for more? Right?
Yeah.
Why try and expand? I'm already doing what I'm doing. And before you know it, that filters down, like you said, to staff. I could actually make the company more bananas, but why should I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to get
that's
paid
the
for it.
danger.
My rewards are not going to be, my effort isn't going to be rewarded.
Exactly. But that's the danger. Look, you can't survive without a profit. You need a profit.
Yeah,
But that
sure.
said, I think if you speak to people that have built successful businesses, it was all about building something.
Yeah.
And if you're on that journey to make a change, why do we exist? If you're looking to build something, all of a sudden the profit is secondary to that vision of building something. And therefore, as I said, you can't survive without a profit. The numbers are important, but spreadsheets with numbers on them don't build organizations. Visionaries do. And this is the way of looking at it from my perspective. If you're always constantly looking to evolve, and that comes back to another point that we'll probably cover later on. But that's my view on complacency.
Okay. Moving on. Number 2, not prioritizing sustainability. So this kind of goes hand in hand with complacency, but this is to do, as they've stated here, trying to set more goals, trying to build a bigger and better product, trying to grow your business, achieving more and more with your staff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand because sustainability and complacency are not, they're not the same. But I think the danger with sustainability is you think, all I've got to achieve is X result per year without looking at the micro and macro picture. Things change all the time. Some businesses month to month. And if you're not going to think of ways of how to sustain your business, well, you're going to fail.
I agree. For the listeners that are into sports, I think there's a great commonality override if you look at football teams. So if you look at football management and success in football compared to organizations, I think there's a lot of crossover in terms of culture and etc. What we're talking about sustainability here is I think if you look at modern day football teams, it's a round circle of hiring and firing.
Yeah.
And that's because
it's kind of a joke. They call them journeymen.
Yeah.
You're not even supporting a person anymore. You just move on to the next team next season. Exactly. I don't even understand how you'd be loyal.
If you look at modern day football, if you look at the English Premiership, for example, how many of those managers have been there a long time? Is it a surprise that the longest serving managers in the Premiership are probably Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah.
Who the winning trophies? They're the last winners of the Premiership, and it's all too often. You don't get an Alex Ferguson anymore. That, by the way, it took him 6 years to win his first trophy.
Yeah.
But he was in the job for 26 years because he came. This is the thing, which is what sustainability is all about.
Yeah.
All too often, there's too much pressure from whoever, shareholders, board owners, owners of football clubs to get results instantaneously. So therefore, the policies that they adopt are purely there for a quick fix.
Yeah.
Look at Chelsea. Let's spend £1 billion
Oh
on
goodness.
players. Do you know?
And it
Whereas
came to nothing.
it comes to nothing. They're
Cheers.
struggling mid-table, and the same thing will happen
Exactly.
this year. Loads of
Yeah.
potential, but there's a lack of clear vision. Whereas if you look at Ferguson and if you look at what Jurgen Klopp did, they came in, they go, what have we got to work with today? We've got to
Yeah.
play, but we've got to make our youth academies successful. We've
Yeah.
got to change this. We've got to have the best training, facilities. Our stadium's got to be top notch. And it's not a surprise that since he's left, United, for example, have fallen off, and that's because they haven't invested, and therefore their operation is not sustainable, and they're spending so much money trying to get the right manager in. Whereas find someone that shares your values, shares your beliefs,
Yeah.
and buy into their vision in terms of what they're trying to adopt. And therefore, if it takes 3, 4, 5, in Ferguson's case, 6 years to win a trophy, Jurgen Klopp 4 years to win a trophy, Pep Guardiola 2 years,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, for hiring them, you just go back. Firing them, you just go backwards. And organizations are exactly the same. Okay, what is it you're trying to build? It all comes back to this vision. What are you trying to build? Okay, and therefore understand that in the early stages of any organization, do you go for the quick fix that's going to make you a short-term profit, or do you look at something that's going to build you up the layers, solid foundations to the success that you're trying to build? And even if it doesn't mean getting a profit today, are you doing the right thing? So many companies change people and start managers and things like that because they come in and they go, I want results now. And therefore, all of a sudden, they're no longer flavor of the month, 6 months, 12 months into it. They're no longer working for the organization. And you've got to find someone else with their own ideas rather than, what are we trying to build? Give the person time.
Yeah.
If you buy his vision, give him time.
Yeah, I think, and also their mentality, shareholders and, those with the purse, those holding the purse strings will settle for a top 10 spot rather than trying to win the cup, trying to build a soccer empire, a legacy. What matters more is that top 10. Because at least then, you'll make it at the end of the season, whatever the payout is.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Number 3, not putting customers first. This is such a biggie. I mean, poor customer service can make or break your brand, and yet far too often do we encounter it. I can't tell you how many brands that I've seen that I wanted to be involved with or buy a product and then just get put off by shoddy telesales, by poor emails, by slow response, and then that carries on to me not advocating for your brand. I'll be telling all my friends, don't bother with this company. They're awful customer service wise. Isn't it strange it's still continuing, eh?
It is a big assumption to assume that good customer service exists. It's interesting what you just said. Let me challenge that slightly.
Okay.
Shouldn't the first thing that you put first is your staff members?
Sure. They're the ones who are going to build your business. Sure.
Well, ultimately, where does good customer service come from?
I'm going to say staff training.
Staff members being motivated.
Yeah.
Being motivated.
That's
because
true. I
mean, because ultimately, how do you expect them? Like, I always believe treat others as you expect to be treated yourself.
Yeah.
And therefore, and appreciate a good service when you receive it.
Yeah.
But in the reverse, if we're talking about corporate culture whereby team members are motivated and inspired by the vision of the organization, they will go that extra step to give good customer service. You'll find that when people are not motivated, then all of a sudden the complaining customer is just, oh, here's another one. And it becomes a job's worth rather than I'm going to go out of my way to give the very best service. And by the way, good service is definable. It's got to be measurable.
Yeah.
It's it's one thing. Put customers first. What does that even mean? First, in what respect? And it's got to be definable.
Yeah. So I unfortunately had an oil leak in my car about 6 months ago, and I took it to the mechanic, He said, he'll have a look, etc. It turns out, right, that it was actually um, my old man's car that was leaking.
Right.
But because we keep changing around our parking spaces,
Yes.
whoever comes home first, etc., right? That I wasn't able to figure out that was his car. But anyways, okay, so that's the backstory. When I took it to the mechanic, they said to me, okay, we'll leave it overnight on some mats to detect where the leak is, and then we'll
hmm
we'll check. So this was overnight, right, at the mechanics. Next day, they
hmm
told me, okay, we couldn't find a leak. Oh, so I was like, okay, that's good news, kind of thing. What's the damage? How much do I owe you? And the guy quite said, no, we didn't do anything. You just left your car here. Just promise you'll come back for your service.
Yes.
And for me, that was amazing. Like he could quite rightly charge me. I mean, I'm using his
hmm
facility for 24 hours. That's a
Yeah.
space he could have otherwise used. But he didn't charge me, and all he asked for is that I come back for my service. Which not only
Yeah.
did I do, I wrote them quite a good review just on the basis of that. And
It's amazing.
I wonder how much more business I've brought him just from his own good service to me.
I got a similar story, but the opposite way around.
Yeah,
It was my mother's birthday a few weeks ago.
yeah,
So I decided to treat her. My sister came over. We decided to treat her and take her to a well-ranked restaurant in Limassol.
right.
That I won't mention on here because I could be done against libel, but I'll tell you the story anyway. But so we took them for a meal. And for me, it's all about attention to detail. We ordered, okay, had to repeat it twice. Okay, then the starters came, but 2 starters out of 5 came. And they were
Okay.
sitting there for about 5 minutes.
Oh
And
no.
I don't know about you, but I won't start my starter until everybody's served.
Yeah,
And
I
good
mean, just good
customer
manners.
service
Yeah,
is and good service is to provide, just to serve everybody, and everybody
yeah.
starts
At
at
the same
once
time. Yeah,
at the same time. But we were waiting, so I brought it to the attention of the waiter,
right.
and he says, "Let me go and check." But I did say in the meantime, it's good service to bring them all at once. I'm
Right.
sitting here now. Do I start? Do I not start? Okay. And therefore, and I brought it to the attention of the manager because we get 5 minutes. Okay, fine. By that time, I'm annoyed. Okay. When the starters
Quite
came,
understandably. Yeah.
when the starters came, they served one portion of this first starter dish, not 2, because my parents had both ordered it, but they only brought 1. At which point,
Oh.
I called the manager over, and
Right.
I complained. He apologized. I saw him take the head waiter to the side and have a go at him and whatever. I do apologize, sir. The starters are on me. Okay. Right. The rest of the meal finished. Okay. And it wasn't a cheap meal. It was an expensive meal.
Right.
And at the end of it, my sister goes, let me get it and we'll split it later and whatever. Anyway, she goes to the bill. And the bill's quite expensive. And the gentleman goes, I'll have a tip. What tip are you going to leave? So my sister said 30 euros. Okay,
Right.
10%. Okay. And at the end, when she got the receipt and took it home, she saw that they put 50 euros. So not 30. It was bad enough they said the starters were on
Yeah.
us, and they were, by the way. But when
Right.
it came to the tip, they didn't press 30 euros, they pressed 50, which is not
Jeez.
what she'd said.
Right.
And she goes,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really annoyed. And I said, really? Is that what happened? I'll tell you something. I will never, ever, 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 ever go there again. What are
Yeah.
they trying to prove? What are they trying to achieve?
And not.
The
Yeah.
service wasn't down to us. It's down to them.
And on the back end of that, you're rewarding, you know, um, bad service on the part of
Yeah.
your staff. If
Interesting.
those waiters live on those tips, and if you deliver
Yeah.
bad service, you should be punished for it. And if you deliver good service, rewarded. Now, whoever the waiter was knows that they could screw up, but they still got a tip out of it. That's
Exactly.
not right.
And here's a thing that I heard about 25 years ago from one of the Gallagher brothers, who are the lead guitarist of Oasis,
Right.
the UK pop group. And he said something that stuck with me. He said, if you reward mediocrity, that's all you will ever get.
Yeah.
So therefore, if
Yeah.
you don't, your job as as someone to buy, if you want a better service, reward good service, but challenge bad service. Then people will be aware of the standards that are whatever. The standards are not adherable, but it
Yeah.
starts with yourself. Treat people as you expect to be treated yourself. If
Yeah.
someone leaves you a message and they're a client, even if you're in a meeting, just little things that I constantly do. I'm in a meeting at the moment. As soon as I'm out, I'll get back to you, because that's how I'd like to be treated. If someone, I
Exactly.
hate it when
It's your
if I
time. You
WhatsApp
don't want someone
someone,
to waste your time.
2 days later they don't respond to me. That winds me up. So therefore,
Yeah.
because it winds me up, I will make sure that if anybody WhatsApps me, for example, and it's a business meeting, I would say, I'm in a meeting at the moment. I'll call back to you. I'll get back to them straight away. Get back to them straight away.
Yeah. The next two are oddly similar
Yes.
on the list.
Okay.
The number 4 is not relentlessly innovating, and
Yeah.
number 5 is not thinking themselves, not a business not thinking of itself as a tech company. So
Yeah.
innovation, sure, I understand, but I'll explain number 5. They've listed it here as not adapting to technology, which for me is similar to innovation. But anyways, I
Hmm.
suppose we could speak on both.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it also comes back full circle to complacency. We're doing things the way we're doing it because that's the way we do it, and the tools
Yeah.
we used then should be good enough now. That's a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster.
Yeah. You've got to embrace change, and at the same time, if you're trying to distinguish your organization to your competitors,
Yeah,
okay, there's a great film that I watched called a few years ago called Margin Call. I don't know if you've ever seen it, which is
what
pertinent
is
to
it?
this industry.
Yeah, rings a bell. Yeah,
Yeah, Margin Call. If you get a chance to watch it, it's really good.
yeah,
But Jeremy Irons plays the owner of this bank, and it's to
right.
do with the 2008
Oh,
crash.
bank crisis. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes, and it's interesting. If you're fascinated, it's interesting. I've read a lot of books from Michael Lewis, all commentating on that industry at the time.
yeah.
And he wrote The Big Short as well. So this is similar, but I think it's actually better than The Big Short.
Okay.
And Jeremy Irons says, look, there's 3 ways of making money. Be smarter, okay? Be first,
Mm-hmm.
or steal. And obviously, we're not here to rip people off. Now, everybody would like to think they're smarter, okay,
Right.
but don't. I think where you can, it's be first.
Yeah.
And in terms of innovation, okay, as it says quite rightly, just because the industry standard is this, whatever industry that you're in, doesn't mean that you've got to adhere to what you've always done. But that's the way we do it, as you say. It's irrelevant. You've got to be constantly looking at new ways. And maybe technology is one of the ways that you can innovate as such and embrace it. But at the same time, sticking to your principles, because sometimes I do like good old fashioned service. It's amazing, and I don't want to email correspondence with a bot or something like that. I like talking to people. Maybe I'm just old, okay, but
I
you've
think
got to have the
it goes a long
ability to
way.
offer both. Yeah,
It goes a long way. Some people love the human touch, and that connection. But
yeah,
I just going back to like innovation. I mean, I remember I was working for a company the way they had systems in place for producing their product slash content
hmm,
for about 15 years. And when
yeah,
I joined, I asked basic questions like, why are we not using X technology, at the time, which is what at that time was the industry standard.
yeah,
And I was told, by the boss, no, this is the way we do it. It's worked for us. Let's keep doing it.
yeah,
And okay, that would be fine, assuming we're, doing well as a company, but we weren't. And then I was challenged after the fact when I thought, okay, let me just use this new tech to show them, because rather, ask for forgiveness than permission,
yeah,
is one of the things I live by. And I showed them, look how easy this is, and they just wouldn't embrace it. They
yeah,
just, yeah. And then fortunately I moved on, and won't you believe, a year later that company failed. So, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously there were a lot of other cracks in that business, but
Must have been, yeah.
if you've got such, an aversion to change and innovation, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. There is a danger too, though.
Yeah.
There is a tendency sometimes to buy innovation and buy technology for the sake of buying technology. And
Oh yeah.
technology is not cheap, you
No.
know? And therefore, sometimes you can get overloaded. Oh, every time someone knocks on your door and saying, we've got this program that we've designed to
Yeah.
do X for you, right?
On
And you're
another.
sitting
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and you're sitting there with 20 pieces of technology when you look at your your books at the end of each month and going, why am I using that? You use 5% of its capability,
Yep.
but you're paying $2,000 a month for it.
I think.
Do you know
I
what I
think
mean?
what would be cool is a future podcast, and I'll remember is like leader personality types, because just on
Yeah,
this I've got one, and that's a magpie. I remember
right.
working for someone who was, whenever anything new and shiny was out there, oh, we've got to do this. Oh, we need to be on
Yeah,
Instagram. Oh, we've got to be on TikTok. Oh, we need to use this program because our old program, which we just got 6 months ago, is now obsolete.
yeah,
And exactly what you said is happening. We're spending thousands of dollars on new systems, and nobody's
yeah,
learning to master these new systems. We just keep moving
exactly.
on and on and on. But anyways, I think we'll leave it there for the top five
Okay,
reasons. We'll continue again with the rest of the list. And yeah, all I've got to say is thank you so much, Charlie, for all your awesome advice and insights.
not a problem. I hope he helps.
Awesome. And I'll see you on the next one.
All right, good man. All right, speak soon.